So here we go. Furkan going up against Bob the Rock. Furkan making his first appearance here. Bob the Rock we saw earlier on this year. He finished in 7th place, and he is the one with the most pressure on his shoulders this weekend. He obviously has an opportunity to still go to the LCQ if he doesn't perform well, but you know you'd much rather have that golden ticket to Worlds.
Well, you talk about pressure, and sure, Bob has that LCQ versus auto-qualifying pressure. Telling you right now, if you're looking at the YouTube chat, the Turkish crowd is out for Furkan today. Turkey is one of those countries that in Clash Royale, kind of similar category to Portugal or to Romania. Really excellent group of players who have never quite cracked that S-tier level. I mean, you look at Turkey, right? You have players like Alperin. You and I saw FMGG at the World Cyber Games.
Oh, yeah.
Eternity, Aslan, Yunus, Omer. Like, it's a great scene in Turkey, and he has a huge crowd behind him. So Bob has the pressure of, does he get that qualifying spot? Furkan has thousands of fans both in our chat here and, of course, watching at home, rooting him on right now, and he wants to make sure he performs for those people at home.
And speaking of performance, Furkan has been doing a really great job this year. He's been to the round robin stage 3 times, obviously been to the Swiss bracket every single month. He's only made it to monthly finals this weekend is the first time out, but Rich, he's 20th on our leaderboard, which is crazy when you think of all the work that he's put in, but we haven't seen him yet here at our monthly finals. He's at the bottom of our screen with a little bit of damage in early on as we see a Golem come down for the first time this weekend for Bob the Rock.
Yeah, surprise and no surprise. Bob loves playing Golem. Obviously, Golem right now is in a rough spot in the meta. Our friend Sir Tag was tweeting about the other day about how rough Golem is right now, but Bob loves playing Golem, and if anyone can make it work at CRL today, it's going to be this guy from the Netherlands.
Yeah, Golem has been used a lot less as of late. We've seen a lot more Elixir Golem come in, but that's a tough card to play or a tough win condition to play at CRO when you talk about giving your opponent Elixir in any form or fashion. So Bob the Rock able to almost even things up there as we're at 1876 to 1756, and Golem double dragon with Lumberjack feels like a bit of a flash from the past, man.
Yeah, lots of options here, though, for him on the Graveyard defense. Alternative options. There's not any really tier 1 option here for Bob on the Graveyard defense, but Lumberjack can do work, Bomber can do work, even Electro Dragon can help out a little bit. NATO if he's in a pinch, so it's going to be very interesting to see how he defends. But of course, with Bob, as you can see right here, Golem is offense, offense, offense.
Yeah, he's going hyper aggressive with it. A full can of gas in the tank here for Furkan to defend. He gets that Hunter up high, and he's going to do a pretty nice cleanup here as he takes those 2 units off the board, but still, Lumberjack plus Baby Dragon to deal with. Nice Bomber there, and it feels like Furkan's starting to get a little overwhelmed here, Rich, as we're getting deeper into double Elixir.
Yeah, that sudden death overtime can put the pressure on, and right now, still with the lead is Furkan, but not by a huge margin. He does have a better ability to switch lanes than Bob does, but we'll see if he can find the opening to do that.
Yeah, it's really tough when you talk about getting that Graveyard down with a tank. The best tank for it is going to be his Knight, but he's using that regularly because he's got to have it tanking for those Golem pushes. So instead he goes Cannon Cart plus Archers here. That's easy cleanup here for Bob the Rock, but not able to get another Golem down.
Yeah, more of a pressure play, it seems like. Got a little bit of extra work on that right-hand side and didn't really let Bob gear up on the left-hand side, able to defend easily. So very curious to see at what point Furkan pulls a full-on trigger to go for it. Right now, just content playing defense.
Well, I like Bob defending with the Cannon Cart there. It closed up that other lane for business for a little while. Furkan going heavy or hyper-aggressive to try to get a Graveyard down with that Cannon Cart already in play would have been a bit of a misstep, so you see him having to reset and play defense this time around, and now it looks like Bob is going aggressive with just under a minute left to play. Triple Elixir down the tank, and we'll see if we do see another Graveyard out.
Cannon Cart does barely stay on its wheels, and Graveyard goes to the right-hand side rather than the left-hand side. Baby Dragon in response. Fireball going to make some nice room here, and that is a huge lead opened up, but Bob going aggressive on the left-hand side.
Really nice sequencing there. You see a great snowball to slow everything down. Fireball comes in to push everything back, and now this is Bob's last chance to break on through. Did Furkan cycle back around to another bomb tower? Not going to need it as Cannon Cart comes out high and that snowball slowing everything down, and it feels like things might be sewn up here. Great Fireball defensively.
Yeah, this stack at the bridge just a little bit too late for Bob. You saw him trying to overwhelm and break through, but couldn't get it done. Furkan, really great job, and I want to go back to that push on the right-hand side where he spent to make Bob play defense and not let his offense keep pushing that left-hand side. Was able to defend that left-hand side. That was a really great sequence there by Furkan in those closing moments.
Yeah, I mean, he spent as much elixir as a golem cost, and that was just as he said. He's already got a ticket to where he wants to be. Bob the Rock, who is playing for a lot more. I mean, even though he still has a chance at LCQ, Furkan gets to play the guy that gets to upset, and that's always a fun place to be in.
It's going to be very curious. I mean, again, like you were saying before, Bob has something really on the line this weekend, and for Furkan, that top 20 spot already clinched. I picked him back in April as a wild card pick for the World Finals, and he's very quietly secured his spot, mostly on the strength of really excellent ladder play. 2 number 8 finishes so far this year.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it, is he's done it very quietly. He's a name that we've heard in the space all year long, but we haven't had the treat of casting any of his matches here at CRL until today, and so far he has not disappointed. And here we go, very similar looks on both sides of the board. And there you go, Flying Machine once again in play, and it feels like Flying Machine is going to be the card of the weekend so far.
Yeah, it's very curious. I mean, it's also part of it is the reduction in the popularity of Fireball has made Flying Machine just a little bit stronger. And here you go, Bob not changing anything from a tactics perspective after game number 1. Pedal to the metal, game number 1, says, you know what, let's go for a sequel, Too Fast, even more furious in game 2.
And that actually gets a lot of damage in, and we'll see what Furkan has here on the response. Those 3 zappies backing up 2 hogs, and no Heal Spirit in play anymore to give this push any more legs, and really nice defense there from Bob the Rock.
Yeah, Bob shut that down very well, and I'm curious to see if that Heal Spirit comes in to be a factor. Bob, we'll see how much he sits on that bar barrel as a Heal Spirit response. We saw him use it in this case because he wasn't worried about it.
Yeah, those brilliantly timed Heal Spirits are one of my favorite things to see in the game. Just can turn a push that feels completely dead in the water, put it right back on its legs, and Furkan going to be looking for that. And like you said, Rich, I guarantee you Bob's going to hold the barrel for that as much as he possibly can.
Sets up Mother Witch to the right, and then Flying Machine comes out for Bob at the bridge to get the cage off the board. His Flying Machine, though, won't be a factor now, and it's going to be Furkan's Flying Machine that gets just a little bit ahead as we go into our final minute of regulation.
Some good poison value here on both sides of the board. We'll see if Furkan tries to get that out at all, or if he's just going to sit back and reset. There is the late poison to get on top of the Brawler, slowing him down and getting a little bit of damage in.
One thing we've seen a lot of today, Andrew, throughout these matches is poisons being played to win bridge fights. And part of that is that in this meta, we've seen the game being played much slower, a thing that Eric talked about earlier. So whether it's poisons or spells overall, a lot of spells have been winning in the middle of the field rather than trying to get tower damage.
Yeah, and you talk about Graveyard as one of the win conditions. Piggies are very similar in the sense to where you want to be able to get those other units across the river, help support that push, whether they're tanking for the Piggies or just supporting them. And here you go, once again, up high is that poison, just like he called out, Rich, cleaning up that left-hand side. Bob the Rock on the other side of it, trying to get a little bit more chip damage in, as he does have quite the lead at the moment.
Yeah, and that was a tough spot for the Flying Machine for Furkan. He didn't want to play it up too high, knew it would get sniped by the Flying Machine, maybe the Mother Witch, and went low and gave the big poison value. And right now, the momentum with 90 seconds left, totally flowing towards Bob.
Yeah, well, Bob has done a much better job. Oh, wow, and that's just going to do it right there. Tower take early. I mean, early on, the Piggies come through and get a lot of damage in. What I was going to say, though, is that Bob was doing a much better job of where he was placing that Flying Machine. There was a few times we saw Furkan going to be, and something that Bob did almost every single time was protect that Flying Machine, or if that Flying Machine had a sliver of HP, double down, get more offense on the board. And that really aggressive pedal to the metal tactic you were talking about, Rich, ended up paying off great with those Piggies.
So here we go, game number 3. A lot on the line for both of these players. Furkan looking like it might be Royal Giant here as he cycles the log on the left-hand side.
And when you see Ewiz plus Fisherman, you got to think it's going to be RG. You see it on both sides of the board, but instead we see a Mega Knight come out here for Bob.
Yeah, it might be a Ram Rider here for Bob the Rock, who you can see is very serious right now. The look on his face dialed in its Graveyard.
Wow. Snowball going to come in up high to keep this Mega Knight alive as the Skeletons try to clean up on the back end, but Furkan just taking an ocean of damage already. 1299 to 2462, and you can see him reeling over it.
Yeah, that didn't feel good. Never feels good. And that Mega Knight comes down in front of the E-Wiz. You have so much difficulty dealing with it. You have to spend so much up high, and Skeletons just are not going to do the job on the back end against that GY. So huge opening moment, and Furkan goes opposite lane. Royal Giant in the back while still in single elixir.
And I really like what Bob did there with his Snowball. Instead of doing what a lot of players would do at a lower level, instead of going to the Princess Tower and get those Skeletons off the board, he decides to go high with the Snowball so that he can make that Mega Knight, his tank, have just a little bit more legs, stay on the map a little bit longer, so those Skeletons that are dropped defensively are that much less effective. A couple RG shots will come in here, but nothing too substantial in consideration.
Well, the big value there, I mean, the RG shots are certainly something, but this is the value you're seeing. He came out ahead of that with a healthy Mega Minion on the board and even an Elixir. So trying to force something, but doesn't quite get as much as he wanted.
Here we go into double Elixir. Maybe we see an MK cycled in the back here in a minute from Bob.
Bob's certainly looking for that big signature moment. The best achievement on his roster would have to be a global tournament #1 finish back in 2019, but hasn't really had a signature moment since then. Looking for one here.
Nice lightning there to get that Fisherman off the board. Does allow the RG to get just one shot in and relatively even in Elixir, and we'll see probably Furkan take a little bit of damage here. No, he decides to play Skeletons as this is his healthier of the two towers. It wouldn't be the end of the world if he took a little bit of damage, but it does look like Bob is happy to focus on this lane now.
Trying to shut things down, as this has been the direction that Furkan wants to choose, and that's a lot in with the Snowball and arrows both on the right-hand side. He was trying to hold on. Plenty of Elixir for Furkan to clean this up if he wants. A nice little bit of cycle play up top.
And he decides to go RG high here at the River Fisherman there as well to look for the high Fisherman that Bob played before, but Bob doing the correct thing, changing up his defense. He drops the Fisherman low this time. RG does get a few shots in, and now just like that, we see Furkan in the lead, but now Bob has a great counter push coming in.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see how he chooses to defend this one. Goes as cheaply as he can with the log, and now he's going to get an RG, hopefully, for him in front of this E-Wiz, and you see Bob not liking the results there. But the Royal Giant does not get in front of the Electro Wizard. We'll see if it stops just enough, and it does.
Yeah, look at that. Night Witch gets just close enough. RG squeezes on through on the bridge, and now the RG gets pulled to the opposite lane. Nice pull there with the Fisherman, and that's going to be the toughest thing for Furkan to get on top of. He needs to build a push from the back, or at least maybe support it a little bit less so he can get a lightning on top of that Fisherman again. That's what we saw earlier on. That's where we saw some of the best damage come down for our player from Turkey.
Final minute. He wants to stop this, and that's great placement from Furkan. I was about to say he wants to stop the Mega Knight from leaping onto those E-barbs, and nice work with the Skellies to control that. Question is, can he control this push enough? And does give up the lead, has a chance for a nice counter push, though.
Here we go, RG down. Not enough Elixir for a lightning, but Fisherman comes down very late. There's the lightning in. RG gets one shot, but now another big counter push, and Graveyard in suit.
E-Bar's working on the Mega Knight, log to clean up down low, Snowball to clean up a little bit as well. This E-Wiz is a danger. Skeletons get down. The Mega Minion does not stop the damage. And that's going to be a spell. All it will take for Bob is one spell, and he goes on in the winner's bracket, and there you go. Bob the Rock moving forward. Furkan on the chopping block.
Wow, yeah, Bob comes out with his win condition that he loves early in game #1. Furkan